Hello, okay, let's make some SVGs. In Demo Magic World, I've already made a flower and some text, and I'll just really quickly show you. The yellow center of the flower is in its own layer called stamen. You want to separate these things out because we'll be able to target them separately with CSS. The flower petals are called flower, maybe I'll just call them flower petals. And then the text is in a layer called text. Couple things. When you have text that's an SVG, you want to make sure that you create an outline. So once I get this, I want to select it with my select tool, and then I want to say type, create outlines, and then it'll just give me the outlines instead of the font. That way we can manipulate them as vectors and not as fonts. Okay, and then if you want to know, this is like my Illustrator one-trick pony thing, is that if you have a circle and then you go to Object, Path, Average, and then you say both axes, it'll make like a four-leaf clover thing. Okay, so let's export these as selection. So I'm going to select the flower. I'm going to say File, Export Selection. And then this is the one I just made. I'm going to call it flower, so that the file name is flower instead of asset 6 or whatever it was. Make sure that SVG is selected. Click on the little settings button here. Choose SVG. Make sure this says internal CSS. It won't work well if you do inline, so make sure you do internal. Don't have to worry about these two, because we're not using fonts or images. And then this should say layer names. Save settings, and then choose where you want this to go. So I'm going to select a better folder, SVG demo video. Okay, save. I'm going to just put it there, and then say export. Then same thing with the text. I'm going to say select, or export selection. It's called asset 7, I'll call it text. I will go to settings, choose SVG, internal CSS, layer names, save settings, make sure SVG is selected, make sure this is going to the right place, yes, okay, choose, and then export. So now I'm going to jump over to my text editor. And here is the stuff. So let me close all this. Hold on a second. Okay, so here's this folder. Here is what the flower looks like. I don't know why I added a 1. I'm going to just rename that. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter because we're actually not going to use these files. We're going to use the code inside them. So if you look at this file, it has a beginning SVG tag and an ending SVG tag. And then I'm just going to sort of like break it up so you can see it a little better. There is a definitions tag with a style tag. So there's a fill that is CLS1 is this first one, which is the, it must be the petal, well, it says group petals right here. So here's that path for the group. Just kind of breaking it up so you can see better. Okay, so there is a group with 2 groups inside. One is called flower petals, one is called stamen. That is just a circle, so the only information it has as a vector is like where it's placed on the X and Y axis and the radius, and that's it. So this one has this crazy path for all of the petals, and then it has this class. We could totally change this if we want. It doesn't really matter. I'm just gonna like make it more smushed up again because we won't really need all those line breaks. And then I'm gonna copy, and I'm gonna make a index.html file here. Save index.html. Let's go into the right place. Okay, save. I'm going to do my pound or my exclamation point trick, SVG demo, and then in the body I'm going to paste my SVG, And if I view it in a browser, dun, 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 it will be a gigantic flower. So let's put it in a box so it's not quite so big. So I'm going to make a div. I'm going to give it a class of flower box. And this will sort of contain our flower. And then now, if I, let's see, so the flower petals, if I target this ID of flower petals and I go to the path of that group ID, I can change the color of that path. So first let's see, okay, so flower petal, we need a CSS file. So I'm going to say new folder. I'm just going to get you in the habit of creating a CSS folder to sort of keep your files more organized, style.css. Okay, so .flower-box. I'm going to give it a width of 400 pixels. And then just to get it away from the size, I'm going to give it a margin all the way around, top right, bottom left of 100 pixels. So let's, oh, and then we have to make sure that we link to it. So I'm going to say link, and then I'm going to say go to the CSS directory and give me the style.css file. So let's take a look at this. Okay, yay, we have a 400 pixel flower. All right, so let's change its color. If we go and look at it in the inspect tool too, we can see, we can kind of try things out. So here's the circle. So CLS-2 has a fill of this yellow color. We could like try aqua. We can try for the flower petals, if I click on those, and I click on the path, I could change that to, I don't know, antique white. There you go. Beautiful. Okay, so let's do that in CSS. So all I really need is this ID. So I'm going to grab the ID and then I'm going to ask for the path that is connected with that ID. So in CSS, we're going to say flower petals, and then we're going to say find the flower petals ID and then find a path within it and change the fill to let's see, we'll do RGBA so that we can do a transparency. So the first number, this is a red, so 255, comma, the green, look, I do this every time, RGBA, I just typoed. Okay, so the red is 255, the green is 0, the blue is 0, and then the transparency for now we'll just say 1. Okay, so let's try that. Open in, whoops, not in the Finder. Go to a browser. Okay, so we've got a red flower now. So let's animate that. So I don't want to animate the path. I might not even want to animate the group. I might want to animate the box, but let's try animating the group first. So I'm going to make a new style. I'm going to say animation dash name flower rotate, and then I'm going to say animation dash duration. 4 seconds seems reasonable. Then I'm going to say animation fill mode, right? That was the one that we used to make sure that it keeps going. So there's our animation setup, and now I'm going to say at keyframes, and it's called flower rotate, and I'm going to give it 2 curly brackets. And instead of using to and from, we can use percentages, and we can use any percentages we want. So the equivalent of to and from is 0%, and then 100%. But you can have anything in between there. So you could like start the rotation at 0 and end it at 100, but maybe at like 50 you change the color. Let's try that. Might be fun. Okay, so at 0% we want to transform rotate, and then we're going to say 0 degrees. I'm just going to copy and paste this. And then at 100% we want to be 360 degrees. Let's see if this works. I don't know if the group Yeah, we may have to target the whole box. Open in browser. Okay, so what's happening is it's rotating from like the top 0. So let's try, that's very interesting. From the top of group. Okay, so let's try rotating, instead of flower petals, let's rotate flower box, because that's the whole box. Flower petals, flower box. Let's try that. Okay. Cool. And then see how it starts slow, and or it eases, like it sort of slows down as it goes to stop. That's the default, which I think is like ease out. We can make that linear so that it spins at the same time. So it's animation, is it duration? This is when I have to Google linear. No, we already did duration. And then this forwards doesn't seem to work either. What did we just do for the button animation? Animation fill mode forwards. Why did it not work here? Maybe we have to do, okay, I'm gonna, animation fill mode forwards. Okay, I'm not sure why it's not going forever. We'll figure out that later, but I want to change it to linear. So let's do W3C CSS Animation, and then I want it to be linear, but I can't remember what the tag is. So let's look for that. Animations. I'm just going to find linear on this page. Animation timing function. Okay. So I'm just going to copy this. Come on. And try that. So animation timing function linear. Let's give that a whirl. Okay, cool. So now it's like spinning the box from the center axis. There's probably another way to target that, like probably some sort of transform, translate, but let's play with opacity. So let's say at 50% we want to change the opacity. Ooh. Interesting. Well, let's try it. I was just thinking, this is like inside, so how does it know what opacity to change? But we'll just try it and see. 0.5. Yeah, so it's not, I'd have to do another animation for to change the opacity, because right now I'm just targeting the div, and we need to make another animation for like things inside of that. Okay, so the only other thing I should do, we're at like 13 minutes, is CSS Animation infinite. Infinite repeat. Infinite rotate. Let's try that. Okay, endless rotation. So I try to stay away from Stack Overflow first. CodePen, this might be good. CodePen is a bunch of sample codes that people do, and if this is working, we can kind of try to figure out what it is that is making it. So let's see, rotate. Oh, interesting, they have 369. I wonder if that's why. Rotate, infinite linear. Okay, animation. This is, see how there's 1, 2, 3, 4? This is 4 different things in one. And I will talk about this in class, this Dash WebKit, but we can actually just use animation instead. So what this is doing is sort of similar to like how we use like the shortcuts for margin. So instead of saying like margin top, margin bottom, margin left, right, what we can do is instead of all of this, I can say animation, rotation, that's the name of it, so we can call that flower rotate. Oh yeah, we don't even need this. So I can go flower rotate. I want mine to be 4 seconds, so I'm going to get rid of that. I want it to go infinite, and I want it to do linear. So I don't need that, and I don't need that. Okay, let's give it a whirl. A twirl. Alright. Cool. Okay, this is 15 minutes, so I am going to sign off. I hope this is helpful. I will try to get to some more stuff today, if not, kind of through the weekend or Monday. Alright, thank you.